so much for joining in here on my new YouTube channel. If this is your first time joining, this channel is aimed at career women, and here we talk about all things in thriving in career, life and wellness. Now, in my last video, I shared 5 tactical tips with you on how to think through making a career or job change and then go about actually doing it. But after chatting to a few people, I thought it may actually be quite useful for me to share my personal experience having walked through that journey just a few years ago. In my first video, where I gave a bit of a background about myself, I mentioned that I used to be an engineer. So I had studied civil engineering and was working as an airports engineer before making the career transition into management consulting. And I was about 27 at the time when I realized that it was time for me to make the change. So soon after having come back from working on the Mexico City International Airport project, I realized that I had reached a bit of a ceiling in my current career. I had reached a ceiling in the sense that having worked on a mass scale international project like that, those kinds of projects don't come around every day. In fact, they really come around. So I knew I wouldn't easily get the opportunity to work on a project of that scale again. I also knew that if I wanted to achieve the growth that I was really after at that stage of my career, that I would have to move to our headquarters in the Netherlands in order to achieve that. Now, my partner, who is my husband today, was not able to make that move with me. So that was not a feasible option for me. I also knew that I was not being paid enough for my talents and my qualifications. I knew that I was being paid well below the market average salary rates, and there was not really much I could do within my company to close that gap, and so I would have to make a move. I had decided that moving within the industry to another firm may increase my salary slightly, but it wouldn't give me the career prospects that I was looking for, wanting more exposure to those mass-scale international airport projects, given the unique position of the company that I had worked for before. So those were a bit of the professional reasons behind why I knew that it was time to make a change. But it was really the personal reasons that gave me the courage to make the move in the end. I used to wake up every single day not feeling excited for work. And the longer I was in it, the more draining it felt to actually go to work, because the activities that I was doing on a day-to-day basis was just not giving me energy. And the longer I did this, the more frustrated I became. And having explored all of my avenues within the company, having felt that I had reached this personal ceiling, I just felt stuck. And I didn't know what to do, and it felt like well, slightly suffocating, because it felt like there was all this potential that I had within me and all these talents that I wanted to, to give and be able to harness, that I wasn't going to be able to do given my position. And having been in that space for probably, I would say, like a year at least, it started to erode my confidence, because it started to feel like there weren't really any prospects for me. And I noticed how it just started to make me more unhappy. And in the end, I knew that I didn't want to continue to live in that way. So having gone through this experience and being in that space, this forced me to take a step back and think about, what is it that I actually want to get out of my job and out of my career? I think that I had ended up being in engineering because of the external forces around me that had molded a path that resulted in me getting there. But that wasn't necessarily in line with the things that give me energy and the things that I would want out of my career and out of my job. So what I mean here is that having been good at maths and science at school, and there was a shortage of engineers in the country, my education providers would encourage me, and the media would encourage me to pursue this path in engineering. And for my parents, given that, we're colored, which in South Africa is not a derogatory term. So given the fact that we are colored, you wouldn't necessarily have been given these opportunities during the apartheid years. Go and get a university degree and do this in engineering. And so I think that there was definitely this feeling of, if I do this, I'm going to make my family and my parents so proud. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't what I wanted. And it made me think about, so what is it that I want out of my career? So after having made the decision that I wanted to make the career switch to management consulting, I did a little bit of research to understand what is the amount of preparation that I would need to do, what are the types of things that I would need to do to prepare for the interviews, what is the interview style, and just, created this plan to go about actually preparing for these interviews. So that was getting myself ready from a skills point of view and a preparation or readiness point of view. But a big part of that, knowing that I was applying to an MBB firm where it's incredibly difficult to get in, I knew that I would have to bring my A game. And so mentally, my mindset had to be in the right place. And so I spent a lot of time working on that, working on my confidence, knowing that I was just at such a low point. I needed to transition out of that space and actually start visualizing having this job. And so I used to say, when I get into Bain, I would not say if I get into Bain, I would say when I get into Bain. So I'd already started envisioning and almost putting it out in the universe that I was going to get the job. And I think that was incredibly important for me, to start believing that I could get the job. Now, I know what I've just described here makes it sound like it was such a seamless and easy journey for me, but it was anything but. So starting at Bain, I was being brought in at the same level as a fresh university graduate, and that definitely made me feel like I was literally throwing away the 5 to 6 years that I had spent in industry. But I think we don't always realize that you've actually gained so much skills and experience from that time. I mean, there's things that I absolutely know how to do in comparison to someone who would have come, freshly out of university. I know how to engage and manage clients because I had to do this extensively in my previous job. Of course, there's that maturity that I would have that a fresh university graduate would not have. And most importantly, I know how to solve complex problems because that is what I was trained to do. And I had to remind myself of all of these things because my new company doesn't know me from a bar of soap. So they don't know it yet, but I know it and I need to remind myself of it so that I can deliver. Still knowing all of these things, how I really managed to find the courage to take action was the realization that I would continue to be deeply unhappy where I was. Now, I used to listen to a lot of motivational material, and I still do. And Les Brown is one of my favorite motivational speakers of all time. The one story that really stuck out to me the most is he talks about how the graveyard is one of the richest places on earth. And the reason for this is not because of valuables that people are wearing, when they've been buried, but it's because of all of the unrealized potential and talent that have been buried with them. And all these people laying in these graves, wishing that they had just taken a leap of faith and pushed themselves out of their comfort zones to realize those talents and believe in themselves to just reach their full potential. And I didn't want to be that person, and I still don't want to be that person. And so, as uncomfortable as it was, as scary as it was, at the end of the day, that is what helped me to really take the step and move in that direction. That is it from me today. Thank you so much for joining in for this episode. I hope it was helpful and that you could take some inspiration from my experience. If you know anyone who is going through something similar, or you think might be going through something similar soon, then please go ahead and share this video with them. Also, I'd like to ask you to please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. By liking this video, it helps YouTube to push this content to other people out there who may need this inspiration and need to hear this message. I would love to know your thoughts on this video, so please do leave some comments down below if you enjoyed this, or if there's anything else that you would like to hear from me. Otherwise, I will catch you here in the next episode, where we will be doing some visualization exercises to develop our vision board for 2021.